and welcome to our first edition of 10-6, which is 10 questions from 6 feet away.
Yes.
Today, we're talking with Peggy Taphorn, the artistic director here at the Temple Theater, and
we have our special guest, Daisy, one of our Temple Theater mascots.
All right, question number 1. What skill set do you need to be able to work as an artistic director?
The answer to that is you need every skill. Basically, you're combining 2 different sides of your brain all the time, because I personally, as a producing artistic director, the producing part means that I do all the budgets, financial information, grant writing, long-term strategic planning, as well as the artistic end, which is the fun part, putting together the creative teams and casting the shows and being part of choosing the season. So you really have to use your entire skill set in order to produce theatrical events. The biggest, I think, asset to being a producing artistic director is being able to be flexible. I use all the skills I've learned as a freelance artist, as a stage manager, as a business person. And so you combine all of that literally on a daily basis, because you're always trying to produce some piece of art, but also trying to get the funding and everything aligned so that you can take care of your staff and your patrons and volunteers in times like this.
You have a board of directors. What's the difference between the job of the board of directors versus that of the artistic director?
The job of a board of directors for a nonprofit theater really is about fundraising. We need help in getting additional donors, and so we ask each board member who comes on board to bring their business contacts with them. The saying is you need to give, get, or get off. But it really is about bringing more people to the table. If you bring your business contacts and your connections with you, then we are opening up our pool of advertisers and future sponsors and people attending the temple.
This is a question that has been asked from the web.
Yes.
Kenny asks, when choosing a season, how do you choose between a theme and a series of shows with different messages? And what does that say to the community that may want to suggest shows for the season?
Well, first of all, I'm always up to suggestions, either from actors who have worked here who said, hey, my favorite show is fill in the blank. Why don't you do that? So I can come back. And I listen to colleagues like you, Bill, audience surveys. Typically, I tend to plan 2 seasons ahead. I've come up with a bit of a formula here at the Temple. What seems to work is that we open the season with a big splashy classic musical, because that is the beginning of our season. It's our time to sell season tickets. So we want the most people in the seats to buy season tickets for the rest of the year. So that's kind of starting off with a bang. Then we will do either a smaller musical or a play, sometimes with a Halloween type theme. Then we head into our Christmas shows, which we have had success doing A Christmas Carol, which I had commissioned by Michael Hoagland, that we do for the holidays. And we do those in 3 years on, and then there'll be 2 or 3 years off. In those off years, I try to find, again, a family-friendly holiday show to bring everybody together as a community for the holidays. Then in January, we do a smaller piece, because the weather here in North Carolina is always a little bit iffy. So I try to bring in a package or a smaller show. And then we do 2 smaller, again, could be plays or musicals, to fill in the rest of the winter into the spring slots. And then we end our season with, again, a big splashy musical, usually of a more contemporary vein than our season opener. And again, there's a difference between what people say they want to see and what people will actually buy tickets for. And then I try to slip in something that people don't know as one of the 7 in every season, to try to spice it up a little bit.
So what's the process for choosing a play specifically? And I mean, in terms of going from finding the play to booking the play to getting the rights to negotiating, all of that sort of process. That one actually was asked by Travis.
Excellent.
Who was curious about the back and forth between the rights holders and how
Right.
the theater gets permission.
Well, it's different if you are a school, an amateur theater, or a professional theater. So you have to go through different licensing companies. And just this year, a lot of the larger licensing companies have combined into one mega licensing company called Concord. So now really we deal with Concord, which is new this year, MTI, and then there are other smaller licensing companies that hold their own titles. So first you have to decide what show you want to do, and then choose several titles, because this year in particular we got turned down for 3 titles as our season opener. And that is one of the great things about Sanford, is that we are centrally located. One of the challenges is that they use a 60-mile radius around Sanford. So if there's a tour coming to one of our big roadhouses like DPAC or North Carolina Theater, if they are touring any of the titles that we want, we don't get that title. So then we apply for the licensing. All that is done online, and then you wait. Sometimes you get immediate replies, you've been granted permission to do this show, this is what it's going to cost. All plays and musicals take a fee up front, and that can range from $3,500 for a title up to $20,000 for a title. Then most licensing companies take a percentage of the box office, from 8% to 15% of your weekly box office gross. So then you move forward with the licensing company. You send them that upfront deposit. They send you a contract back to you as signed and approved, and then you hold that because there will be another deposit due 30 days before the production starts, and then those weekly box office grosses have to come in as the production runs.
So what happens, for instance, now, since Steel Magnolias had to close halfway through?
We're all being flexible at this point because although we have had to cancel the run of Steel Magnolias and postpone Mamma Mia for this current season, we are still trying to work them in. So it just depends what our timeline is going to be. If we can fit the shows in over the summer, we will do that. If we have to move those shows to the fall and switch around next season, we will try to do that. So the licensing companies are being very thoughtful and flexible as well, and basically everything is just sort of on hold. If it comes to getting a refund, we'll go that route. But again, we're trying to do what we're asking our patrons to do, which is just kind of sit tight, be patient, either donate your tickets back to the temple as a donation or just hold on to them for a future performance of the same show or possibly a different show if it comes to that. And that's what licensing companies are doing too.
So how do you choose, or how do you hire directors and designers for specific projects?
Well, luckily, since I've been here now for 12 years, I know the local talent pool, which you are part of. And I always try to give work first to the temple staff and our local talent pool. And then if there's a show that's very specific, for example, a chorus line or something, where people specifically just go around the country and set those shows, then that would make sense. Why reinvent a wheel, But typically I've either worked with somebody or I know someone or there's somebody right here in our own backyard who would be perfect fit for that show. So you have to decide, what's this person's wheelhouse? What are they comfortable doing? What do they want to do? Working on a show, you have to be passionate about it because it takes the research end. It takes, again, both that left brain, right brain, in being able to work out a props list and a rehearsal schedule, as well as doing the creative end. So I try to work with people who can think in all different directions, and who also can get the product done. We have a very short rehearsal time. For our big splashy musicals, we rehearse for 3 weeks. For our smaller plays and smaller musicals, we rehearse for 10 days. Luckily, North Carolina is full of talent, and having lived in New York myself for 23 years and worked a lot as a freelance artist, I also have a pretty wide range of friends and theater family that I can call for specific shows if need be. But it really, when you're developing a team, it's like developing your board. Every single instrument in that orchestra has to be able to play individually and play as a team. So that's what I really look for. Are you creatively matched to this particular title? Are you able to work within our time and budget constraints? Do you fit with the existing temple team? And will this be fun? Because at the end of the day, none of us are becoming millionaires, but we hope that we can do the best professional show we can do with people we enjoy working with. So it's a win-win.
And here's a question from Maggie. Why is it more about the bottom line and not the art? My question following that up is then how do you balance the cost of the production versus the cost of the tickets to the patron?
And that's probably something that is worth talking about because most people don't know how theater is made. In the theater, all of our expenses are front-loaded, right? We have to pay that licensing company. We have to pay the deposit on the scripts and scores. We have to pay all of our designers, costume designer, wig designer, prop designer, lighting designer, set designer, technical director, master electricians, crew to, build the carpenters to build the show. All of that is upfront cost. And that's not even getting to, the actors and the musicians. And the director, and that's just the creative end of expenses. Then you have the mortgage and the utilities and the insurance and the payroll and fill in the 25 other expenses that go into each production. which unfortunately why making art has to be done in this environment, on this level as a business. And in order for the business to succeed, you need all of your checks and balances to balance.
Now, I know that a lot of standard theaters, it's usually about 60-40 or 70-30 donations to ticket prices. What's the scale like?
Here at the Temple, we're at about 63% of our revenue is based on ticket sales, which is high. But that is because in this area in which we live, we don't get as much corporate sponsorships, grants, federal sponsorships and grants, and donations, frankly. So we rely really heavily on ticket sales, which is why the season has to be chosen according to what people will actually pay for, not what they say they want to see. Obviously, making the art is the fun part, but you have to be able to pay for the art. And we do matinees now on Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 2 p.m. because our show and our season is tailored to bringing visitors to downtown Sanford. Last year we brought 41,000 people from 63 different counties in North Carolina to see shows at the Temple.
I'm going to jump onto that one because that follows into one of the next questions is how do you develop an audience? In theater in general, audiences are aging out. What are your plans for trying to develop a younger audience and keep that flow coming in so that we get new people?
Sure. Well, that's the magic question, isn't it? I can't wait to hear what the answer is. So the answer is we try. Again, it's all about programming, and one of the things that I'm the most proud of at the Temple is how our education department continues to grow, because our youth programs have exploded in the last decade, and that's certainly one way to get new people into the theater, because we do all of our summer programs now where we do 5 camps for ages 4 years old to 20 years old. We do year-round academy classes, we do voice lessons, we do piano lessons. Next year we're adding a show for our teens in the main stage season. And my philosophy is if you get people to come once, they typically will come back. So a good way to get people in the door once is through these youth programs. And then again, it really is marketing in ways in which people respond to. That's why we do those Thursday, Friday, Sunday matinees. We do student matinees at 9:30 in the morning to get schools and homeschool groups to come as groups to, experience the show. And we do talkbacks after those shows. We try all different kinds. We do a lot of social media. We still do direct mailings. We still do radio ads. We do print ads. So we really do kind of the buckshot sort of way of marketing to try to reach all of the different demographics.
This is your, 11th year here?
12th.
12th year, wow.
Yeah.
You've been here more than a decade now. What's the 10-year plan for Temple Theater and for the arts in general?
Well, our plan always is to move forward in expanding our services. We still collaborate with other theaters and universities and other schools as much as possible. During this time, we've had several meetings with other organizations about perhaps doing co-productions next year to save on expenses, and figuring out how to do high-quality theater on a budget in the middle of North Carolina. And I think we will continue to try to educate and enlighten and entertain. So it really is about continuing to expand. I mean, my long-term goal would be to hit a patron from all 100 counties in North Carolina within the next 10 years so that we can say we're serving all of North Carolina. Okay. It's very important to me that we continue to work with our local business sponsors, our corporate sponsors, our grantors, so that we can keep our ticket prices low. Because I never want someone to not be able to attend the Temple because they can't afford it. I never want a young person to not be able to participate in our camps or conservatories or academy classes because they can't afford it. So we will continue to think creatively and find creative ways to fund our mission and just keep rising the bar every year. Every year people say, you're never gonna be able to top that. And my motto is, just you wait. So I think this too shall pass. We're gonna get through it even stronger. I think people are eventually going to really need what theater does best, which is bring people together and tell our common stories and give us a place to laugh and cry and celebrate. We're still here.
How is the coronavirus and this shutdown really affecting the Temple?
Well, we were able to squeeze in the opening weekend of Steel Magnolias, so I was happy that all of that work and all of those artists got to at least do a few shows. We have canceled the rest of that run at this point, and we've had to postpone our production of Mamma Mia. We've canceled our Southern Voice concert. We've canceled and or postponed Southern Voice and the Ed Asner, A Man and His Prostate. We're hoping to be able to reschedule all of those events and more coming up when we're able. We have built up a prudent reserve, which we are currently using since we have no income, because we have no ticket sales. There's that business plan again. We can do all the art we want, but if nobody shows up, it's not going to last very long.
How long can you survive?
We could survive if we had to for the next 3 months at full staff. We have decided at this point that it's more prudent for us to start furloughing so that we can use that prudent reserve when we get back. We might switch around some programming so that we can seat patrons that had tickets for Mamma Mia and Steel Magnolias. We're still trying to figure out if we can get those in either over the summer if we're allowed to assemble, or pushing things off in the fall and rearranging next season a little bit to accommodate the tickets that are already sold. I've worked on several grants that are ready to go if and when they start accepting applications. I've filled out several small business loan applications if it comes to that. If we would have to burn through our prudent reserve, which I don't think we will have to, but we never know. It depends how long it lasts and how people handle their refunds of tickets and how philanthropic people can be moving forward. So all of it's up in the air, but we have planned well. We are in a better position than a lot of the theaters I have talked to. I think the Temple will be fine.
See, you just anticipated my last question, which is one to grow on. What can we do to support the Temple Theater, other arts organizations?
Speaking from both sides of my career, as the producer of the Temple Theater, please just be patient. If you're able to donate your tickets back as a donation, please do. If you need a refund, we understand. We are processing those as we can. Again, if you're able to make a donation, you can go on our website, which is templeshows.com, or go to our Facebook page. And we're also seeing what's going to happen if we're going to be able to reschedule those shows, if we're going to be able to just postpone them and not have to cancel them. That's what we wish. And what's going to happen with our summer camps, we just don't know at this point. We are trying to have social media and website content, if not daily, every other day, tapes from around the country and around the world, past Temple performers. So we're trying to keep everybody engaged as we all navigate these crazy times. Patience is key. I would love everybody to take a deep breath and practice your personal well-being exercises, whether that's yoga or breathing or walk the dog more or cook something or paint something or sit outside and read a book on your own porch. Do what you need to do to make yourself feel calm and grounded, and know that we will take care of your resource here, the Temple Theater, as best we can, and that it'll be here when this passes.